Hello and welcome to this beer clipper video. In this video I'm going to take a 3D print which exploded a bit and recover it, which is really good because I don't like waste and I do like stretch myself, and that's what this video is all about. So what happened was I left this 3D print to cure while I went on holiday and I realised that there was some uncured resin inside, and I thought I'll deal with that when I get back, so I was in a bit of a rush. But the uncured resin basically damaged the inside of the print and it expanded or maybe caused some kind of reaction. I'm not entirely sure what happened. But when I came back, I found that there was uncured resin that had gone onto the plate that it was sitting on. Fortunately, didn't damage anything, but the miniature had big cracks in it. So there was a lesson learned there. Don't leave uncured resin inside of a hollow model, and a opportunity. Can I save it? So I hope you enjoy the video. Please do let me know in the comments below what you think. I'd love to hear from you. I do read every single one of those comments and I reply to them all, and they really do encourage me, and I appreciate every single one of them. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you again at the end. Another lesson has been learned in my 3D printing adventure. What you see here is an absolutely beautiful sculpt that I printed out, and I will attempt to remember to pop a link to it in the description below. I think I bought this even, so it's not free, and it comes in two parts. So you glue the top bit on and then you have this beautiful tower with fantastic steps. It's just lovely, but you can obviously see what's happened, and I know exactly what's happened. So I hollowed this because it was a big lump of resin and it was going to be very heavy, and I was a bit worried it wouldn't actually stay on the build plate. So I hollowed it out and didn't put the correct drains in, obviously, and I did this before my holiday, and so I realised that there was resin inside it, but I just left it because I was in a rush. It was just before the holiday, I didn't have time to do anything about it, and what I was going to do was drill into the bottom and drain the resin and what have you. And when I came back from my holiday, I found that this had happened. The resin inside had expanded, the whole thing had cracked, and yeah, the resin had gone everywhere. Fortunately, it was on a paper towel, so it didn't cause any damage. But yeah, it's not totally irretrievable, and I think I'm going to be able to do something with it, which is what I'm going to do in this video. But yeah, there's a lesson learned there. Make sure you got time to do all of the cleanup that you need to on a model, even to the extent of if you've screwed up the hollowing and you need to drill out holes in the bottom to drain out the spare resin. So I'm going to try to save this because I really like it, and there's a lot of resin in that, and I'm sure it is going to be salvable, and I'll do that on the video. But yeah, just an interesting thing. Couldn't believe it when I got back. I was so shocked. So yes, what we're going to do is going to put it on a base, paint it and decorate it, and it'll be a really nice bit of scatter train. So yeah, let's get it based and painted. So what I'm going to do for basing this is make use of my never warp again technique, which works really well, I promise. And for that, what we need is a bunch of clamps, something which is not going to warp. So I use, for smaller things, I use this shelf type from actually, I can't remember where it came from, I think it's actually from a shelf. And I'm going to use Weetabix. So you can really see, when you watch this, you can really see how well this anti-warping works, because this is even warped, just kind of like holding it right now, but it won't be when it's finished. So what we'll do is I will cut out a shape from this Weetabix and then clamp it down to the baseboard, and then I'm going to glue this on top straight away. So that's the plan I'm going to do, and what I'll do is I'll mark out roughly the shape that I want around this, and then I'll make sure that my scenicking doesn't go too far over that, so that it actually is possible for me to cut the extraneous Weetabix box off. So yeah, there's a video in the link below, in the description below, to details showing how I do this if you want to watch it, but I'll come back to this when it's all glued down and we're ready for the next step. So this is glued on nice and securely, as you can see there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the modelling compound, which I'm just mixing up as I talk, and I'm going to build that up, just not very much, just a little bit around the base, mainly to cover where the glue is and just to cover the cardboard, the Weetabix.
So yeah, so just to mix it up, I do this very much by sight now, and I generally get it the correct consistency first time. So I've been doing this a lot. I go for a lot of this stuff, but this is the consistency that I generally go for with the modelling compound from Luke, or from Geek Gaming, if you're following his new name. So what we'll do is I'll just come along and put a very thin skim, and then after a couple of minutes I will come back with clean hands and I will smooth it over, and I'll leave it to run to go off overnight completely before I come and have a look at it in the morning. Now you can work with this quite quickly after you've applied it, because it does go off quite fast actually, but I'm going to leave it overnight. So I'll get this done, and then I'll actually come back and show you how it looks when I'm smoothing it. I think that'd be quite interesting. So I'll just get this all put in place now, and I'll be back when that's ready for smoothing in a minute or two. I'll let you know roughly how long it is as well. So yeah, get this done. This isn't far off ready for smoothing, so I'm going to come along now, and all I do is just run my finger, which is clean, like I say. You don't want it to be covered in the compound, otherwise it will just stick to it again. Just gently smooth it off. You can do a good result with the circular smoothing motion as well. But yeah, I want this to be a very kind of green sward effect, so I don't really want lumps. Whereas if you're doing a rough ground, obviously even the result that I'd managed to get on the initial application may be sufficient. But yeah, it's a simple technique, doesn't take very long. It's been a couple of minutes tops since I finished applying it, and it's already at that stage. So yeah, we're just going to smooth out the lumps and bumps, and then I'll leave that to go off overnight. So there we are, I think that's good enough. Cool.
So it's the next day, and I've come to have a look at this, and I've realised I have made a mistake. So in the interest of keeping a learning for all of us, I'm going to show you what I've done and what I'm going to have to do to fix it. So I don't know if you can see, but this is flaking a bit, and also, yeah, it's just peeled off away from the cardboard. And the reason for that is this cardboard is shiny. So it being shiny means that when nothing's going to stick to it. So that's just pulled off as a pad, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different cardboard base, and I will then stick it down, just using PVA for this, to a different cardboard base. And I've got this mounting board. This is like artist mounting board or whatever, thick cardboard basically. And I'm going to make use of that. So I'll cut a slice off that, and then I'll glue this down onto that, and then clamp it again. I'll leave it to dry, and hopefully that will resolve this issue. But it does just go to show that mistakes are often made. Oh, this has worked. That's now glued down nicely to this cardboard. I should have used the Weetabix the other way around, so I had the Weetabix base down rather than, and the brown cardboard that I glued this to rather than the other way around, but never mind. I leave that in as a learning experience. So what I'm going to do now is going to take this and I'm going to go and prime and paint the actual tower. So I'll do that with my model paints, and then we'll finish off the base, and then it'll be done. It's not going to take very long. So I will tell you what colours I used and show you some of the techniques I'm going to use. I actually noticed the first thing I need to do is it was a bad idea hollowing this out. I put some holes in the top there. Before I printed it, did that in the rendering software, and obviously I need to fill those as well with some green stuff. So I'll get those filled, and then I will prime and paint it, and I'll let you know how I do that. But it's probably going to be done with some contrast paints and a very basic technique. So yeah, it won't take me very long. So I will update as I go, and then we'll have a look at the base of it, and then it'll be done. So more haste is less speed, and this is evidence. So you can see that I've painted the kind of weird thing green. I really like that. I've just used the green contrast militarum green or whatever on that. And then I came along to use some red wash on the stones, the Carroburg Crimson. Now I seem to be doing this all in Citadel colours, which is unusual. And because I primed this, and I'm embarrassed to say it, I primed this with a rattle can. I never ever prime with a rattle can. But I primed it with a rattle can because I felt I was in a rush and I wanted to get it done. But
I've just had to come in and prime it with my normal primer because the wash just didn't take at all. So there we are. I really don't like priming with the rattle can, and now I've got another reason not to, because they're rubbish. So wait for that priming to go off, and then I'll come along and give that a nice red wash. I did think afterwards I could have used my red primer, which could have been quite nice, but I don't want it to be quite so dark, I don't think. But maybe I'll come in and prime it red. Not sure. Anyway, there we are. Bit of progress. I've had a lot of fun painting this so far. It's not quite finished, but it's getting there. So I did the wood, as I've said, in the contrast wildwood, and I did the green with the contrast military green, and then I did the tower mainly with Carroburg crimson, so the red wash, and then I left it. And then I've come back in and I have dry brushed over the green with copper. I'm pretty sure it's copper. And then I've just dry brushed over the wood with dark sand from Vallejo, and I've done a very heavy wash of Agrax Earthshade on the tower. The next thing is going to be to pick out some highlights on the tower. I think I'm going to do something like bloody red or something, just to really get some of the edges to pop. And then that painting will be done. And I'm really pleased with it. It's a very simple paint job, but it looks really good. It's really effective. It's got that kind of otherworldly look with the green and the coppery gold. So yeah, once I've done that next step, which will be tomorrow probably, the highlight on the stones, then I will come down, I could take this back upstairs and work on the base and work on the fire that's coming out of the top. So yeah, good progress, but a little bit more to do, and then we'll get on to the terrain work. Right, so I'm pretty pleased with how this has turned out and how I've painted it. What I did was I came in with some dark sand and dry brushed the woodwork, which you can see has really brought out that highlights. I've already said about the green and the bronze. What I then did, I did copper as a heavy dry brush over the red stone, and I think that's enough. I might go back to it, but I think it looks okay for now. So the next step that I'm going to do on this is, you can see I've got it sitting on a tray and on top of some paper. I'm actually going to put sand on the base using black terrain paint and then dry brush up from there. I think that's what I want to do. So I'm going to paint the base with black and then drizzle sand on it in the technique that you'll see on hundreds of my videos, and then when that's dry, then I'll come along and I'll dry brush it up to the right colour, and then I can start to add the flock. So that's the next step on this. I'll bring you along when I've done this, when I'm ready to start the dry brushing, so when I've got just the black texture on the base. Okay, so that's now dried and the sand texture is good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come along and dry brush over the top with a dark brown first of all. Now the reason I'm doing this is I want it to stay a little bit kind of blasted, a little bit, I don't want it to be bright like it would be if I was coming in and doing if I'd done the sand work with this colour. It would just have been a bit too bright, and I want to have it blasted. So yeah, so I'll get this done. It'll take me a minute. I won't film it all because, well, you've seen everything I'm going to do now. Just dry brush over it, and then after that we'll have a think about what vegetation and other awesomeness to add. But you can see it's a very subtle effect, but I think it works really, really nicely. So I'll get that done and I'll bring you back when it's finished. I got this to a colour I liked, and it took a couple of applications of different paints, including even going as far as like a mustardy yellow like that to really bring out some highlights. I'm pretty pleased with how it looks now, but it wasn't just the one application that I did on video. But I'm happy, and that just shows, just keep playing, don't worry, just keep playing until you get the result you need. There's no need to stop just because you think you can do it with one colour. So if I zoom that in now, you can see that that's got quite a nice kind of varied look to it, without being boring and without being overwhelming. It's still very dark, but it's got the light patches, and I'm very pleased. Anyway, that's that. So what I'm now doing, as you can see, is I've got my Tufts and other things, Serious Play, Geek Gaming, Random, probably Games Workshop, not sure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of Tufts to finish this off. I've decided I don't want to do any static grass. and I don't want to do any flock. I want to leave the dirt as it is, and I want to just put some of these tufts in place just to kind of highlight some areas. And I might even put some of these wheat bushes in from JTT Scenery just to see. Just to kind of make it look dead and what have you. So what I'm going to do now, I won't film because I'm going to be moving it around. It won't be very easy for me to film. But what I'm going to do now is put these in place and fill up the base as I want it, and I'll bring you back when I'm done and show you what it looks like. And then we're just left with the smoke coming out the top, which I will do last. So anyway, very pleased to be getting this close to completion now. This is now ready to be cut out of its cardboard, and so this is the part that probably is the most annoying and probably might put people off this method of doing preventing warp, but it works so well that I just put up with it. If you don't use quite such thick basing cardboard, then it's not as much of an issue, but you just want to come along with a sharp knife, not scissors, because if you do scissors you will cause it to crack, and just kind of like trim off the edge like that. So yeah, it takes a bit of time. But the results are worth it because you'll have a really well-based piece of terrain that won't warp and will be really hard wearing. Just be careful when you're doing it. Careful where that sharp knife is going. So I'm going to get that done and I'll take some photographs when it's finished so you can see what it looks like. This has been cut out and there is a white line around the edge, which isn't ideal. So I'm going to come in just with some of my, it's a burnt umber, raw umber, and I'm just going to touch that up, just with a little brush. So we just come along and paint the edge, and that will help it to finish off. So yeah, just a little touch, and it's done. So yeah, pretty pleased to have finished this. Pretty pleased to have saved what, when I came back from holiday, I thought was basically destroyed because it exploded. But you can barely see the cracks now, and I think it looks quite nice. It's a bit off kilter, off balance, but that just makes it look a bit, you know, unique. It'll be really nice on the tabletop. So I'm going to continue doing that around all the rest of the edge, and then that really is officially. Oh, and that's not done. Wow, what have I forgotten there? What have I forgotten? I have forgotten the smoke, so I better do that next. So so I'll paint the edges of this and then we'll do the smoke and then it's done. Oops. Now time for the thing that I almost forgot, which is sticking on this bit of smoke and stuff which is going to come out of these little holes. So I'm just going to do it very, very simply. This is hollow fill, which came out of actually a dog bed, which our old dog Rambo ate. I think it was Rambo that ate it. Yeah, so just going to drop some PVA in place and then press that in, glue it in like so, and that will do it. So that will now dry, and that looks absolutely spot on. That's exactly what I wanted. So yeah, I will let that dry, get some pictures, and then this project is actually finished. I thought this was done, and I went to put it on the shelf after taking pictures, and I realised that it's not done. I need to put a little bit of flocking on this, which is a bit frustrating because I thought it was done, like I say, but it just isn't right. It needs to have a little bit more colour, a little bit more texture on the base, and then it will be finished. So what I'm going to do is make use of my terrain glue there, which is just watered down PVA with a little bit of washing up liquid or dish soap, and actually my shop bought flock, because I'm just trying to use that up before I make some more of my own. So yeah, so just a little bit of PVA, dab it in place, drop the flock on. It's a technique you've seen from 1,000 YouTubers, and from me 1,000 times, near enough. So yeah, I won't go into big detail, but that's needs to be done, because without this, it was just a bit meh, didn't jump for me. But with this, I think it's going to be great. So there we are, going to get that done. And once it's dried, I will put more of the terrain glue on to seal everything into place. So it's a two-stage process, so it'll probably be done over the next day or so. And then I will get some pictures and finish this build up, and hopefully make use of this on the tabletop. Wouldn't that be awesome? So there we are. I'll get this done and yeah, finally finish it.
there we are. From something which maybe I could have thrown away to a really cool piece of terrain which is going to look really good on the tabletop. I can use that on many games. Middle Earth will work for it, or Moonstone, which was the original idea, or various other strategy games or fantasy games even would work really well with that. So that was a really successful save. Really pleased. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you would have done something different. Let me know if you've had the same thing happen to you on a print. It would be really cool to hear that. I love all of your comments. I do reply to them all, so yeah, don't be shy. But I'll wrap up by saying, as I always do, thank you so much for watching, particularly if you did make it this far. And please, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.